Now we will discuss the intersection of CEQA and housing. In recent years, CEQA's opponents have focused their criticism almost entirely on housing. They claim CEQA has caused the state's shortage in affordable housing units and assert that most CEQA litigation is challenging housing. These claims are unsupported by any evidence. CEQA doesn't stop housing projects, it improves them. Without a strong CEQA, there would be no serious barrier to building new, large-scale developments in climate-vulnerable areas, wildfire-prone areas, next to polluting industries, or on contaminated sites. CEQA is an essential component to any long-term effort to provide safe, healthy housing for all Californians. Jennifer Ganata, Legal Department Co-Director with Citizens for a Better Environment. In 2022, a Superior Court found that San Bernardino County had failed to adequately analyze the impacts on wildfire evacuation of a large subdivision proposed along Highway 38 adjacent to Big Bear Lake. Because of CEQA, the county will now have to fully consider and inform the public regarding the fire evacuation risk for new and existing residents. CEQA has long been used to make sure there is adequate water to serve proposed new subdivisions. In this example, the East Bay Municipal Utility District brought a CEQA challenge in 2021 against Contra Costa County for approving a large housing development that lacked a stable water supply. The court found the county had indeed violated CEQA. The project can move forward, but only if the county determines where the water will come from. This case benefited not just the residents of the new subdivision, but all residents in the service area. A large project in Stanislaus County would have placed thousands of new homes in a remote, rural area without adequate fire protection. It took a CEQA case by a local fire district to force the lead agency, the City of Riverbank, to address the issue. In the end, the fire district and the city reached a settlement, under which the fire district will receive funding for the necessary fire protection services. A community group in San Francisco's Chinatown is using CEQA to demand that developers of a residential project in their neighborhood clean up highly toxic chemicals on the site to protect the community from cancer-causing contaminants. The affordable housing crisis can be solved, but we must focus on real solutions. Scapegoating CEQA distracts lawmakers from addressing the actual causes of housing shortages and from implementing policies to increase housing affordability. Melissa Romero, Deputy Legislative Director for California Environmental Voters. Blaming CEQA has led to numerous bills that streamline or exempt a wide range of housing projects from CEQA. We have listed several of these bills, but there are many more. For example, here you see an exemption from 2002 for specified infill housing, and later bills streamlining other housing, including transit priority projects. In 2017, SB 35 exempted specified multifamily housing from review under CEQA. Additional exemptions are now in place for farm worker housing and for homeless shelters and supportive housing in key parts of the state. And here are examples of some of the most recent exemptions. For example, in 2023, SB 35 was expanded to exempt even more housing, and infill housing projects where 100% of units are affordable are now also exempt. Even with these CEQA exemptions, California's affordable housing crisis continues. Because CEQA was not the root cause of the crisis, these exemptions did not solve it. Additional exemptions will serve only to erode the environmental and public health protections Californians depend on for safe and healthy housing. Every reputable empirical study on the subject has found that CEQA is not a major impediment to housing production. These analysts include academics, environmental planners, and housing experts, and 2 state Senate committees. Independent studies show that a combination of economic factors impedes the production of affordable housing. These include high land and construction costs, high interest rates, widening income gaps, and developers timing the market. The lack of sufficient subsidies for affordable housing, the elimination of redevelopment agencies, which help subsidize housing, concentration of ownership, and poor planning and/or zoning are root causes of our housing crisis that deserve more attention from policymakers. In many areas, housing projects have received all of their entitlements, but are still not being built. For example, In San Francisco, there are now over 58,000 entitled housing units that remain unbuilt. These projects completed the environmental review process but were never constructed due to economic factors. Furthermore, the crisis in affordable housing is not limited to California, where CEQA is on the books. Even states with far weaker environmental laws are experiencing housing shortages. The number of CEQA cases filed each year is very low. Since 2002, for the entire state of California, all 58 counties, the number of CEQA cases has averaged only 192 per year. This number has remained constant over 2 decades, despite a 13.2% increase in population. Of that small number of cases, the most recent CEQA study found that only 23.8% challenged housing development, and the vast majority of the housing units challenged in those cases were located in undeveloped, sprawl areas, not in urban infill areas, where we want new housing to align with the state's other policy goals. Importantly, the rate of CEQA litigation is also very low. The most recent CEQA study found that from 2013 to 2021, only 1.9% of projects requiring an environmental review document faced a legal challenge. This low rate is consistent with other studies. For example, in 2019, the Senate Committees on Judiciary and Environmental Quality also concluded CEQA litigation rates were low. Californians have waited too long for the affordable housing crisis to be addressed. Here's a partial list of avenues that have been suggested and should be seriously explored: subsidizing affordable housing, applying vacancy taxes, limiting short-term rentals, protecting tenants from displacement, and restricting corporate land speculation. Thank you for your time today. If you have any questions about this presentation, please contact one of the 4 people listed here. This presentation was brought by the organizations shown on this slide. These groups are all supporters of CEQA Works, a coalition of more than 200 environmental justice and conservation organizations dedicated to protecting and preserving CEQA.